Guys, we're with the Iron Roots podcast with Play, with my new friend, Jan Dellinger. I'm keeping him from lunch. And we're inside the York Barbell Hall of Fame Museum. And there's a lot of, Jan put the pressure on me to choose the spots that we should film. There's spots everywhere, but we're gonna start over here. And we're gonna walk this way, guys. Jan's gonna show us, is this the kind of where the original gym was?
Yeah, the genesis of the York Barbell Company started as York Oil Burners. Here you see one of the original teams. You notice the York Oil Burner shirts. This shot was taken down at the York YMCA, which is where they trained primarily before they got a gym. And then they took over this York Oil Burner. This became the original York gym right here.
Up on the top floor, correct?
Yeah, the top floor is the York gym. This is on Broad Street. Down here they made screws and things like that, manufactured things. This is, of course, where they shipped out of. But this is where it became York Barbell, and they were in this building until 1958.
No heat, no air conditioning.
Yeah, it was bad.
That sounds great. It sounds like heaven to me, though.
Yeah. And then they sort of transitioned from these guys. This became one of the earlier. This is the early 30s. This is like a later 30s, early 40s team. Bob Huffman, Gordon Venables, John Turpak, Bob Mitchell, and Tony Terlazzo.
Bob looks, so this is Bob here?
Yep.
He looks, so he's older here, but he looks healthier, stronger.
Yeah.
What I was saying it reminded me of was when I coached at Lehigh University, the entrance hallway was the All-Americans and National Champs from, I think, the 30s and up. And what I do is when I see these old photos, I look at the eyes, and like, if we look over here, I mean, I feel like you could see it in their eyes, like these guys were, this was like a team of hungry, hard-nosed lifters.
Well, at this time, Bill Good from over in Reamstown in Lancaster County was probably the best Olympic lifter in the country. Joe Miller became the model on the York Barbell courses, even to the third printing of them. So this is like when they were releasing courses in 1951, he was still the model.
So this is early 30s.
Yep.
And I really think back then having muscles
could
was
be late 20s. Could even be late 20s, yeah.
People with muscles back then were viewed as like weirdos and whatnot, right?
It was a little odd, yeah. They were, I mean, if you played sports or if you had a very physical job and had to move a lot of heavy stuff, well, then you sort of make a connection. But otherwise,
look at his shoulders. I mean, his legs. I mean, these guys look like they could be good for any sport. It's just really cool to see. And this is just wood flooring here. This is the YMCA.
Yeah, it's YMCA. Yeah, it's a basketball court.
Probably. Oh, that's right. Court. These are the bleachers.
And there's your pulley weights in the back.
Yep. And that was, I remember those pulley weights. They were little stacks, and you kind of like,
Brad boxers would
be great for a warm up.
Right.
Wow.
And then that became this, which is the building across the parking lot, and that became the building that you're standing in now.
Amazing.
What else do you want to talk about?
We're going to walk down to that casting of Eugene Sandow, which you said is one of two?
Let's take a quick stop here.
All right, let's take it.
The death mask, and this is a death mask casting of Maurice Tillet. Maurice Tillet was a professional wrestler who was like Hulk Hogan by the 1940s, post-World War II period. That's his real head size. He was on a man 5'6". 5'5", 5'6", about 275. You can see from the picture up there, his hands, and he had acromegaly. That's what gave him that condition. But he was the rage. I mean, in professional wrestling here in this country.
Because of his head size?
Yeah.
So he was very much, I'm shocked he wasn't in like what they had like traveling circuses. They tried to bring people who...
He started in Europe. He wrestled a little bit in Europe. World War II broke out in Europe. He came over here. He had a manager at the time who found him, and of course with his acromegaly and condition, which again was really weird to a lot of people.
Sure.
Like Andre the Giant, just a smaller version. He was a bridge in the history of wrestling. like in the 1940s, he was the rage, like Hulk Hogan was. In the 50s, he changed wrestling, got on TV. He changed to the Gorgeous George era, which would be the
Gorgeous
opposite
George,
of
I
him.
remember.
You know, so, and he wrestled until about 54, 55, and I believe he died not too long thereafter. But he, in that history of wrestling, he's a noteworthy figure. And they also had to recast other people, the Swedish Angel, this angel, that angel. He was that prominent a character.
Why do they have the hand crush gripper here? Is it was
Sandow.
it?
That's a Sandow.
Okay. I didn't know if it had any relation to him.
No, it's just occupied.
I've seen some of these old style hand crush grippers on eBay
If you
and
look
different
at Sandow,
grippers.
you'll see Sandow's whole nose when they did that plaster cast around his body.
And we've done a Iron Roots podcast on the Russian line, George Hackenschmidt. We've also done it on Gorner the Mighty. And right here he is. I mean, these guys were so, look at this, so strong.
And they did those 3, 4, 5
strength.
times a day as a matinee thing.
Right, that was their training.
And this wasn't like a max out thing for them, you know, because you had to be ready to do the next show. So
Just amazing. When did you ever go to a circus that they had like a strongman, like in?
I know what you mean, but
yeah, like Madison Square Garden. No, never had it, huh?
No, like I told you, we have photos back here of.
World.
Greenstein. Yeah.
Oh, the Mighty Atom.
Yeah, Mighty Atom. He was here in York. I saw him one time.
Okay.
When I was a kid. He was kind of scary. He was a nice man, but small, and anybody could bend horseshoes.
Right.
Because I came from an agricultural part here in York County. I know how stout a horseshoe is. Small guy, he sold some soap and he sold some other little knick-knack, and he's standing there cranking this horseshoe.
There's a great book called The Mighty Atom, a great book on him. It's basically like a biography on him, but like him holding like cars, pulling each way. I can't remember if it was with his teeth, his hair.
Yeah, hair.
Always something.
Well, he did some of that hair stuff because it's over here. Here we go.
Oh, they had great posters. Yep. And he would perform at Coney Island.
Yeah, all over the place.
All around.
He was at some small things too, like flea markets over here in Sellersville in Lancaster County. He would show up. That's how he got to know Slim.
And one of the originals, Charles Atlas.
Yeah.
I love just the way, built like a statue, Mr. Perfect. And marvel of the age. I love the way they worded things.
It was a different thing from bodybuilders now. Symmetry was more prominent. You didn't want to get overdone. In fact, at one time, the ideal symmetry was if you had an 18-inch neck, 18-inch calves, and 18-inch arms. That was symmetry.
That's just if we look, whenever we do the Iron Roots podcast, we show a lot of my magazines. Mm-hmm. We've got this one, of course, of John Grimmick, but these are some of the courses, and this is a great title, The Road to Super Strength.
That had to be one of Bob's early ones.
I would have bought that one. I would have mowed a lot of lawns for that. Here we've got, looks like some of the York, posters we've got here for, again, guys in NASCAR, and he's the trainer.
Yep. Was trained to Mark Martin.
And I guess this looks like a pretty heavy duty home style bench. It's got the leg extension.
A bench that we sold at that particular time, yes.
Very, very cool. I would have bought that also. I would have bought it all.
You're like me.
Yes.
I came, I saw, I bought.
That's right. You figure out a way to make money when you see those things.
Dr. Leistner asked us one time. First of all, it wasn't easy getting it in here. This thing was over top of a stand over the door going into Ridge Avenue. I mean, it was up above the height of the building. This thing was out in the weather for years, decades. People didn't know it. They were walking under it. It was on a huge stand. If I can find you a picture of the original Ridge Avenue building, there's a huge metal stand.
Dr. Ken recommended to bring it inside?
No.
Oh.
He wanted to buy it.
Oh, he wanted to buy it, of course. Dr. Ken was almost trying to do the Zoovers.
Yeah.
Because he trained at Zoovers.
Reenact that.
Sure.
But Anyway, so but it's over the door, and you can't get it down with a forklift. It just tears the back of the forklift right up off the ground. You need a crane. And so we had to have 2 forklifts to bring it in here and barely clear. But we had to get a crane to get it down. It's 1,500 pounds.
1,500 pounds. Unloaded.
Yeah.
The end could come off and could load it with, steel shot or
Lincoln Travis lifted that thing at Coney Island. And,
with a shoulder hip harness.
That was his thing, the short range.
Yeah.
Knee extension movements and things like that. For a lot of
It's like doing a partial 1,500 pound belt squat.
Yeah, right. That.
Amazing. And then if we look up here, a bit of the Hall of Fame with the powerlifters, I guess weightlifters as well. We mentioned Hugh Cassidy, Dr. Squat, John Gamble, Doyle Kenny. A lot of these are the names. Just like I just need to lift weights right now. So we're gonna go here to see the casting of Eugene Sandow, right around this corner.
There's 2 of these statue castings in the world. This one is here, and there's one over in London. It's cast around. Sandow is a strongman, professional strongman, matinee idol with the Ziegfeld Follies. He was a tremendous following. One of the things that set him apart, he wasn't the strongest of the strongmen, but he was interesting because he had good muscular presentation and could pose, and he put himself in a lit cabinet. And what he would do is take charcoal and outline his abdominal muscles. And you could see those all the way back to the
He's in the opening of Pumping Iron, correct?
Yeah. He's probably the first, shall we say, bodybuilder.
Yes.
He's sort of like a modern bodybuilder. He sort of kicked that off, and then there's a couple other guys, including Grimmick, who would be a bridge, and Pearl, and Schwarzenegger, to the contemporary bodybuilding. But this was from the waist to here is one piece. That arm is a separate piece. The lower body is a separate piece.
This is pretty big.
Cast around it. He's about 185 pounds, and he was an average sized guy.
But he really looks like he was carved from stone.
And you'll notice that
the crusher.
Yeah, they were his dumbbells.
And this was his jam. This weight.
Weights, yes.
Oh, it was a stage weight.
Yep.
Interesting, like pretty thick.
Well, you can tell it's for one hand lifting.
Oh, to
because it's
center the hand.
Yeah. You do one arm snatch.
Yes.
Presses. But again, you tell it's a little kind of physique. It wasn't so much about what your lats look like, it's how well developed, chiseled your abdominal muscles are.
Right.
That kind of thing. How big is your arm? Of course, leg would be. It was just a different concept of physique, and he would be a little more symmetrical than.
For sure.
Like we would be used to.
Right. Well, let's just do a quick look here because I have these magazines here. We featured them on the podcast, but here's some of the courses. I got these. This is, the Jowett course, Nerves of Steel and Muscles Like Iron. Who doesn't want to buy that, right?
Right.
Can you imagine? I imagine like those who bought them must have been a lot of the teenagers. I'm thinking. Well, maybe it was men in their early 20s, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that too. I think it was just a more manly appeal overall.
Yes.
And of course now in those days it was like once you hit, some faces 35, maybe 40, like, well, why are you doing this? You're too old. So that was still geared for a younger person. But every once in a while you found an older guy who just did it because he liked it, and they seemed to be well preserved.
And theirs looks, I guess this is like a refurbished hand gripper.
Well, that's one of those hand grippers that Sandow's holding.
It looks like it was repainted and just kind of cleaned up.
Same
one.
It's over there. That was just in gold.
And I guess that's the rubber band.
They sold those during the, I think, war. And again, it was an introductory piece for guys that couldn't afford. They could afford that, but they couldn't afford a barbell dumbbell set. You didn't even have to have the clips for the end to make it a true...
right, because they did sell the chest expander with cables, or I have a chest expander, and it's pretty hard with all the cables in.
The steel ones, Steel ones,
very hard. Yeah. But I'm kind of strong. Just kidding.
Yeah. We got examples of Sandow's magazines here. Bernard McFadden,
He was a big,
publisher,
the physical
magazines,
culture, yeah, the
Strength
books.
magazine. The Good Brothers had Health and Physique.
Sid Klein looking very lean and muscular.
Yep.
And yeah, just like I had, so 1946, John Grimmick on the cover there, 1946. I mean, that's a physique that people would aspire to have, you know, today.
Yeah.
60, and now we're so we're like 80 years later.
Mm-hmm.
That's a physique. I mean, and who's the guy? Was that George Eiferman? Like that physique? Steve Reeves. I mean, it's just amazing. I look at that and I say, you know,
Reeves had that Master Peel physique, and that's why they put him in the movies. As Hercules and a few other things. So, and he had the good looks for a noggin.
Absolutely. Who's this statue of, Jan?
This one.
Yep.
Grimmick.
This is Grimmick. Let's check this out. This will be our close out here. We spoke so much about John Grimmick.
It was sculpted by Ned Benno Huffman, no relation to Bob. There's known artist. There's this one, and there's a smaller version of this one, which I think Grimmick's family has.
Where's his family live now? Do you know? Did he have kids or?
Oh yeah, he had 6 kids.
Okay.
3 girls, 3 boys.
Excellent.
Some of them live around here, as far as I know.
Because this is where. When did he move up to this area?
He came here. The first time was about 1933.
Okay.
He had been an artist model at the University of Illinois at Urbana.
Okay.
And then he was here for a little bit, and then he went back to doing that because he made money at it.
Yeah.
He said, I had money at that time in my life. He said, I was young, and I got paid $1 an hour. He said, that's where I learned to pose.
Right.
He said, when they would break, I would go around, see who drew me from this angle, and drew me from what they saw from that angle. So I learned how to pose. He said, then you can learn if you want to hide something.
Turning a certain way, yeah. He had a very unique posing. Yeah, very unique.
That's not that exaggerated depiction of his wrists. His wrists,
his forearms,
gigantic for his size.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
I mean, now that's a little bit overdone, but not that much. He had an unusual wrist. It was big. He also had a big chunk of bone that came out here. He looked like he should have been a man a foot taller than he was. I mean, and just, you know, like, he had some gigantic joints, but yet aside from those joints, his knees weren't overly big, and it came to the right in tendon, and so it's just wonderful genetics. I mean, it just is.
And that's really a truth, is that some people have a genetic gift, and that's just the truth. Yeah. Well, Jan, it's been awesome. It's been tremendous.
I enjoyed it.
I really had a great time here, Iron Roots, powered by Play. With Jan Dellinger, and we're at the York Barbell Hall of Fame Museum in York, Pennsylvania, and it looks like people are just kind of walking around. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's pretty much self-guided tour. We're here this summer when people like yourself over in Lancaster, they come this way.
Yes, they sneak out.
and the local Chamber of Commerce likes to promote their local businesses and local attractions,
Okay.
and this is on the kind of the Chamber of
I
Commerce
bet.
tour.
Yep.
Although we're a little off the beaten path, we're up here off Interstate 83. So you kind of have to want to come to here, but they do get directed. You know, Adam does well with them.
Yeah, great, excellent. That's it, guys. That's it. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you for supporting the Iron Roots podcast, brought to you by Play. To see this episode and all the other educational resources brought to you by Play, go to play.pro, Plae.pro. You're going to love it, and we'll see you next time.